It's Miss Ortiz, and today we are going to go through a lesson called Classroom Supplies. Let's dive right in. So this lesson is going to cover 3 standards. The first one is NBT 1.2, which is fluently add and subtract within 1,000 using strategies and algorithms based on place value, properties of operations, and or the relationship between addition and subtraction. The second one is MD 2.3, and this one says draw a scaled picture graph and a scaled bar graph to represent a data set with several categories. It also says solve 1 and 2 step how many more and how many less problems using information presented in scaled bar graphs. The last one is OA 1.3, and this standard says use multiplication and division within 100 to solve word problems in situations involving equal groups, arrays, and measurement quantities. An example is by using drawings and equations with a symbol for the unknown number to represent the problem. So as we go through this lesson, some essential questions I want you guys to think really hard on are how can multiplication and division be used to solve real-world problems, and how can we use information in a table to make a bar graph? Now, before we get on to the actual lesson, there are a few vocabulary words I want you guys to make sure you know by the end of this lesson. Now, it's not that many, so don't worry. The first one is bar graph. A bar graph is a chart or a graphical representation of data, quantities, or numbers using bars or strips. The second one is compare. I know you guys have probably heard this in language arts, but what it means in math is to examine the differences between numbers, quantities, or values to decide if it is greater than, less than, or equal to another quantity. And the third one that we are going to be looking at in this lesson is budget. A certain you have or you expect to get that you cannot go over. So that means that if your parents give you $10 to spend at the store, you can't spend more than that. So you have to find a toy or whatever it is that you want to get for under or exactly $10. Then we will do 4 things. We will look at a class supply list with different priced items. We will make a decision on how many of each item we will get. We will calculate the price of all the items, but we have to keep in mind that we cannot go over our budget. And we will make a bar graph to help us calculate our total spending price to make sure we didn't go over our budget. So this is the chart that has the list of items under 4 categories and the prices over here on the right. So our problem today says Miss Ortiz was just awarded $1,000 to spend on materials for the classroom. She asked all 20 of her students to help decide how to spend the money. Think about which supplies will benefit the class the most. Now, the chart that has the items on it. So we can just go from there. But like I said, when you do this on your own, you have to come up with your own number of items. Okay, so we have the cost per item, the number of items, and I've already done the total price for us. So that means what we have to do is we have to now calculate the price for each category at this first category, which is supplies. So supplies, we have $40, and then we have to add $32 and $10 and another $40 and $30 and $96, and that gives us 248. So for supplies, we can't see that. So for supplies, it equals $248. Let me go ahead and do books and maps. And then we have puzzles and games. And then we have special items. All right, let's look at this next one. For books and maps, we have $250 plus $96 for a storybook, for 12 storybooks, I'm sorry. And we have $45 because we got a big map for our classroom. And that equals $391. So we know that for books and maps, we used $391. Okay, looking at puzzles and games, we only have 2 prices. So we are going to add 120 plus 90 to give us 210. So in the puzzles and games category, we spent $210. And lastly, in special items, it appears we only have 1. We got 2 beanbag chairs for the reading corner in our classroom, which added up to $130. I almost forgot my dollar sign. Okay, so now we have our prices. Now let's look. Okay, we have completed step A. Now if we move on to step B, we have create a bar graph to represent how you would spend the money. Scale the vertical axis by $100. Write all of the labels. Okay, now I'm going to copy this, and we are going to paste it down here, and that didn't work. So we're going to do it this way. And then we're going to add another text box and paste those. So we have our prices. Now, since we're doing online class, I have a Make a Bar Graph website on Math is Fun. I know you guys have used that a lot, so you should be very familiar with this. So here is our empty bar graph. For the title of our bar graph, we're going to do classroom supplies. And for our x-axis, which is this one right here at the bottom, it goes horizontally, we are going to put supply items. And for our y-axis, we are going to put price. Now the values we have 4 values. We have 248. Okay, we have 248. We have 391 we have 210, and we have 130. Now we have our 4, now we have to label them. So our first one, this yellow one right here, is going to be supplies. And if we put our comma, our second one, which is the red one, is going to be our books and maps. Another comma. The blue one, which is number 3, is going to be our puzzles and games. And our last one, number 4, which is our green, is going to be our special items. Okay, now we can show our numbers. Okay, so this graphing website that I'm having you use, it doesn't let you choose the values of your vertical axis or your y-axis, so it does it for you. So if you use this one, that is fine, but if you use another way to make it, you have to do that how the question words it by $100. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this graph, and I am going to add it to this page just so you guys can see that we have our prices and we made them into a graph. Now part C says, what was the total cost of all your choices? And the second question is, did you have any left over? If so, how much? So now what we have to do is we have to take all these prices, which I'm going to put right down here, just so I don't have to keep scrolling up and down to look. So now we have to add all of these numbers up to get our total price. So if I just add down here, total price equals, now I come over to my calculator and I do 248 plus 391 plus 210 plus 130. That equals $979. So this is the answer to this is our answer to the first question. I'll copy that and I'll do a new text box right here. And did you have any left over? If so, how much? So we did have some left over because our budget was $1,000. So if we do 1,000 minus $979 that we actually used, we had $21 left over. That means that we came very close. So yes, we had some left over, and we had $21 left over. So that's the answer to the second question. Now if we move on to part D, it says compare your choices with your partner. How much more or how much more or less did you choose to spend on each category than your partner? And how much more or less did you choose to spend in total than your partner? Now this one we're not going to do because I only did one problem as an example, but when you do it by yourself, you will compare with your shoulder partner. You are not going to go out and pick a partner. We will just use your shoulder buddy. And that is the end of our lesson. I hope you guys learned a lot. And I know all of you will rock this assignment. If you have any questions, please let me know.